example here, people. Make P the subject of the formula. So there you have the formula. R equals square root of 4 plus 3p squared divided by s, 4 marks. So let's see how this goes. Let me write it again. R equals, let's see, all right, R equals the square root of 4 plus 3p squared divided by s. So what is it to do now? You have this term here all surrounded by all of this under a square root sign, right? All of this you have under a square root sign. So question is, what do? You remove a square root sign, because you can't really move anything here until you remove a square root sign. So how you remove the square root sign? You square both sides of, well, you have to square both sides, yes. When you square the right hand side, the square root sign will disappear and leave the right hand side untouched. But of course, if you square root the right, you must square root the left as well. So what you have, let me use this color. The square root of r equals the square root of 4 plus 3p squared all divided by s squared. All of this squared. So the next thing that would happen here is that you have the square root of r equals 4 plus 3p squared divided by s. You see that? So square root and square, those are inverse of each other. They cancel each other. So this is what you get. Remember, it is p that you want as a subject. So you want to have p equal P alone, not anything mixed up with the P. P alone equals, and then everything else over to the other side. What you must do here is multiply by S. Because if you multiply by S on the right, well, you have to multiply by S on the left too, but the main reason why you want to multiply by S is S will cancel S. Like this. So you really want to get rid of the square root, then get rid of the s, get rid of the 4, and get rid of the 3. You're going to have p squared equal, and then we will see how you move from p squared to p. But anyway, we continue. Next step. So you have s square root of r equals now you have 4 plus 3p squared. It is much easier and neater to get rid of this 4 first. What do? You subtract 4, of course. We're going to get s equals square root of r, s square root of r equals 4 plus 3p squared. But guess what now? What will happen here is that you're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So if you minus 4 from here, minus 4 from here, really you subtract 4 from the right to get rid of this 4. But the fact that you subtract 4 from the right hand side means you must subtract 4 from the left hand side as well. So you have s square root of r minus 4 equals 4 minus 4, that is gone, that's 0. So you have 3p squared. Alright, so getting rid of those things that are mixed up with the p, to leave the p alone. We must get rid of the 3 now. Now we cannot subtract 3 because 3 is multiplied by p squared. So you must divide. Alright? If you multiply by a number and divide by that number, it undoes. It will undo. The division will undo the multiplication. So, let's see. You have s square root of r minus 4 equals 3p squared. If you divide by 3, 3 will cancel. So you're going to have p squared. But let's go over here. S square root of r minus 4. You divided the right by 3. You must divide the left by 3 too. You maintain balance. Alright? Now, let's rewrite this so that the p squared is on the left. We generally read from left to right. This is saying s square root of r minus 4 divided by 3 equals p squared. Let's put it as p squared equals s square root of r minus 4 divided by 3. You don't necessarily have to do it, but it's a bit easier when you deal with it like this. Mentally, it's easier. For me, at least. But remember what they say, we should make the subject, make p the subject. They did not say make p squared the subject. It's p that you want to make the subject. So what do? You have p squared. To go from p squared to p, you must square root p squared. Alright? So you square root p squared equals s square root of r minus 4 divided by 3. You must square root this as well. Now what is the square root of p squared? It is just p. Remember, if you have the square root of 3 squared, what will this give you? 3 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. If you have the square root of 4 squared, 4 is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. It is 4. If you have the square root of 5 squared, what you get? 25 and so on. No, not 25. You get 5. Square root of 3 squared is 3. The square root of 4 squared is 4. The square root of 5 squared is 5. The square root of any number squared gives you the number itself. So the square root of p squared is p. So p equals the square root of s square root of r minus 4 divided by 3. So there you have it. Alright? So just to quickly review, you have p, the r is square root of 4 plus 3p squared. To get rid of what you have on the, you have the right hand side on the square root sign, to square it. But you must square the left hand side as well. When you square, you get this on the right, still divided by s, but you want to get rid of all of those things that are mixed up with the p so that you have p alone equal. So you get rid of the square roots of r, then get rid of the s by multiplying by s. This thing is divided by s, so you multiply by s to get rid of it. Now, of course, both sides must be multiplied by s. Now you have a 4, a 3, and a squared mixed up with a p. Get rid of the 4 first, subtract it. Because it says 4 plus, so you subtract 4. When you do that, you only have 3 and squared mix up with the p. You want to get rid of those. You get rid of this 3 by dividing by 3. Alright. So, having rewritten it the way I want it to look, p squared is equal to all of this. You finally get rid of the square. And then you do that by finding the square root. Alright? So it's the square root of all of that. Now, here, let's look at something. You might be saying, why would you subtract 4 and then divide by 3? Couldn't you have divided by 3 first and then subtracted 4? Let's see what will happen in that case. You have s square root of r minus 4. No, s square root of r. I'm following this one. S square root of r equals 4 plus 3p squared. Why not divide by 3 first? Let's see. Suppose you divide both sides by 3 to get rid of the 3. Well, if you divide by all of this by 3, you might say, but it's this 3 alone that you want to get rid of. So, let's look at it. If you divide this by 3, you must divide the 4 by 3 too, and this by 3. 3 cancels 3. Nice. So, what you have here is s square root of r over 3 equals 4 plus p squared. You see that? Now, what would happen here is that you'd have s square root of r divided by 3. If you subtract 4 next, minus 4 equals p squared. And then you move from p squared to p. When you square root both sides, you have the square root of s square root of r over 3 minus 4. So, you could certainly have divided by 3 before you subtract 4. But it doesn't really look that neat when you do it like that. Alright? Now, you look at this. Square root of s square root of r over 3 minus 4. Alright, let's see. What did we get a while ago? P equals, let me look back at it. S square root of r, s square root of r. I need to write that r, the square root of r properly now. Is s square root of r divided by 3 minus 4. So, s square root of r divided by 3 minus 4. So that's what we had. S square root of r divided by 3 minus 4. That's under the square root sign equal p. So, that's under the square root sign. Now, notice this and this, they look a bit different. Suppose we use some fractions and say we put 4 over 1 and we find the LCM of 3 and 1, it is 3. Right? Now, here, by the way, let's see something here. We divided by 3, good, divide everything by 3. Then I have, oh, made a mistake here. I should keep this 3. You see, I have the 4 over 3 up here, and I forgot that the 3 should be under the 4. So I made a mistake by leaving the 3. I should keep the 3 under the 4 at all times. So probably was one you were wondering what happened to the 3, right? So the 3 should be there. It's a 3 under the 4. Nice. Alright. So let's look back at this thing here. So here now, if you should draw a line, find the LCM of 3. 3 into 3, 1. 1 times s square root of r is s square root of r. Minus 3 into 3, 1. 1, 4, 4. You put back the square root sign. So here you have square root of s square root of r minus 4 over 3. This is square root of s square root of r minus 4 over 3. So you see it's the same thing, right? So you have different ways of doing this. I like to subtract the 4, then divide by 3. Well, you could divide by 3 first and subtract the 4, and so on and so forth. Alright? And here, what we did was divide by s, multiply by s. I mean, you could have divided by 3 here now, but you don't want too many numbers mixed up on one side of the equation. If you divide by 3 here, you will have the s and the 3, and so on and so forth. You don't want it to be too mixed up and is crowded with too many figures and numbers. So it's safest to multiply by s here, then subtract 4, then divide by 3. Alright? But anyway, that will be it for now. I'll see you in the next video.